you mentioned in the elements that the children need to be under the age of 15 years. Secondly, they're being the eagles. Are they the same eagles that were used in the attack? How do you know that these are the same eagles?
Your Honor, can you repeat the first question, please?
So you said there was a video showing teenagers. From the video, how do you determine that these teenagers were under the age of 15? Okay. Second question is, the eagles, you said they were used in the attack. Where in the facts does it say that these were the eagles that were used in the attack that are being fed right now?
Your Honor, I will answer for the second question
Sure.
first. Of the second question, according to the fact paragraph 1, the Honor that TFI is performed the 1 through female movements, and it consists of the female tribes. The female tribes is have their historical and traditional. There is well known as use eagles in hunting. Also, in the fact,
Like conduct of hostilities hunting? Hunting what?
in the fact, it states hunt for
Drones?
No, in fact, it states it's hunt for food supplies. However, your honors,
In the first count?
I want to contend that in the agreed facts, the eagles is not in the agreed fact. It does not distinctive or states or express or indicates that the eagles was considered as one of the same eagles that appears in the video. However, as I mentioned earlier about the characteristics of the human tribes and TFA, it's known that they are training the eagles. So it creates a link.
Okay, please answer the first question.
Yeah, that established the significant evidence that the eagles that were distinctively red armband was exactly.
So how do you establish that the children were actually under 15?
The age I don't know the age of the children
From the video.
from the video. There are evidence and substantial grounds to believe that the groups of young teenagers appears in the video was under the age of 15 years old, Your Honor.
Does it say that in the facts?
I will clarify for the first evidence. First, there is a newspaper article of Professor Carino. According to the agreed fact, paragraph 26 and 27, the child labor in Salusa, it is in the agreed facts, the Salusa faces from accompanying child, and it develops to the problems of child labor. And the child labor in Salusa basically have 3 choices, whether working in the mining or constitute a crime or joining the TFYA. Also, she also cite her articles with one mining worker who, and he states that in the future he will go into the TFYA, follow his concept. Moreover, there is in the fact it states that the Salusa and areas around Salusa was the recruitment grounds for the TFA. Also, there is a widespread of falsifying and identification documents in order to claim that the person was ages 16 years old. Your Honors, taking all of these circumstances into account, it's sufficiently enough to prove that the groups of young teenagers in the video was under the age of 15 years old. For moving to the third about the elements of war crime as the children under 15 years old, that the widespread of falsified identification documents was have the ages 16 years old. For that issues, Your Honors, the purpose of widespread of falsifying identification documents come from a child that they want to get more pay, more compensations.
Sorry, Counsel, maybe I can clarify a little bit or add to sort of try and lead you in the direction of where we're going. So we are trying to find out how it is that we can actually establish, or at least how the prosecution is planning to establish this element that the teenagers in the video were actually under 15 years of age. What we hear from you is that there is a widespread practice of falsifying the ages of teenagers. We can give you that, we can grant you that. But what we would like now is to see why we should put this count, this charge against Commander Lee Kings based on just a video and this practice of falsifying ages. This is a criminal charge, an international crime that we're talking about here. So we need more than just the practice of falsifying ages of children in videos.
Your Honors, I want also to add that there are the evidence of the child labor in Salusa, and Salusa was the recruitment grounds for the TFI. So that so it can be said that it links the TFI and the problems of child labor in Salusa. Also, the patterns be considered on the patterns of behavior. Working for money is just short steps in between working in the mining and working on the TFI, Your Honors. So taking all of these circumstance evidence into the account, it's sufficiently enough to prove that the TFI conspired or at least one or more person and such person were at the age of 15 years old. Moving to the third element, the TFI knew or should have known that such person or persons were under the age of 15 years old. Your Honor, as I mentioned earlier in the count two of their conditions in Chantital in the Salusa.
Perhaps, Counsel, because you've addressed us on this at some length, maybe we can move to the point about what these child soldiers, as you claim they were, what they were doing and whether that was actually soldiering, whether they were actually participating in hostilities by feeding birds. We'd like to hear you on that.
Your Honor, in order to clarify that answers, I want to mention about the meanings of actively participate in hostilities. Your Honor, actively participate in hostilities, it means any labors to support or maintain TFI operations. As the Eagles was considered as an attacking tools in charge one, therefore feeding them is the labor to support or maintain the TFI operations. Your Honor, however, in this war crime of using, conscripting, or enlisting students, it's required that only one child join the TFI is enough according to commit this crime. So yes, we contend again that the TFI conscripting or enlisting one or more children, and that children was under the age of 15 years old, Your Honors. For I come back to my point of the third elements, a TFI knew or should have known. It is considered from the child laborers in Salusa and the widespread of falsifying documentations. So the TFI must knew or should have known the circumstance and take more precautions and considerations toward the enlist documents. Also be aware of tendency in case that the false documents is coming up.
Sorry, Counsel, you talk about the TFRA knowing about this recruitment or conscripting of child soldiers. are you not talking really about a specific individual before this court, essentially, Commander Levine's? Is there anything in the facts, are there any facts that point to the commander himself actually knowing that this was going on?
Yes, Your Honor. In the fact, it have the evidence that Syed Khan should be responsible as the commander of the TFI and Article 28 of the Rule Statutes. And I have two arguments to support this. First, Mr. Syed Khan's process have the effective command and control over all TFI, and also he has a new process and he has the status of super and subordinate relationship. Your Honors, for the
Sorry, counsel, but even if we concede, even if we agree that he had some form of control over TFRA and therefore he should have known, hasn't he actually already said that there would be an inquiry, that he's going to take action, and that the relevant people who were involved in this act of conscripting teenagers under the age of 15, they would all be dealt with? So why are you before this court when action has already been taken by the commander?
Your Honor, can you please clarify?
So if you look at paragraph 30 of the agreed facts, where it talks about, in fact, in the last sentence of paragraph 30, where the commander actually announces that he will conduct an internal inquiry, where he will visit to check the records of different groups, where people under his command who have actually violated this rule, they will in fact be cautioned and punished. Isn't that something that should be taken up by the domestic courts, by Commander Lee Kings? Why are you coming before the International Criminal Court with this charge, which has already been dealt with at the domestic level?
Your Honor, for these issues, we contend that the measurements of checking and keep the records is not prevent the listing or implement the children under the age of 15 years old. Because keeping the records is not the act of verifying that the documents is falsifying or not. Therefore, Mr. Lieutenant did not take more diffusions and or not take more reasonable and necessary measurements to cover this gap. So therefore,
he should do more, and what else can he do more? Already said, like, in order to check every document and also announce, like, as you see on paragraph 30, if you say this is not enough, what else can he do?
Your Honors, in the agreed fact, it states that he is already ordered his commanders to check and keep the record. However, with the widespread and common problems of falsifying identification documents, and normally checking is not enough to be done. He is known of the widespread and should take more precaution measurement.
We understand that that is not enough, and what is enough in your definition? Can you explain, please? Thank you.
We believe that the exercise of normally checking is not enough. So he should take more investigative or change some measurement that could be more reasonable and necessary and it make us sufficiently to keep or checking the documents, Your Honors.
Okay, please proceed.
Therefore, I also want to add that coming back to the point of Mr. Lieutenant's process, the active commands and controls, and therefore is existence of the superior and subordinate relationship in this case. Even though the fact states that the TFI do not have a central leadership to honor. But from what Mr. McKine's orders is considered that he possessed the de facto authorities. And this de facto command responsibility is sufficient to occasion the liability of the commanders. Your Honor, I want to conclude all my submissions again. For the first one, the TFI using conscripting or enlist the children under the age of 15 years old under Article 82E7 of the Rome Statute. And Mr. McKine must be responsible for the as a commander of the TFI under Article 28 of the Rome Statute. This will conclude my submissions and arguments. If your honors do not have any.
Maybe just again this overall question about command responsibility, because by the end of this hearing you will ask us to vote guilty for his responsibility on either the 3 counts or 1, 2, or 3. So again, just to be very precise in this responsibility so that we can actually be convinced that he is guilty as tried, namely overall command responsibility. So either the 3 of them or 1, 2, and 3.
Your Honor, can I have an additional 1 minute to conclude?
Yes, you may.
Your Honors, as I mentioned earlier, that kinds process and de facto, because de facto authorities, because considering from, for example, in Charge 1, as he has an order, and all TFI act with consent, act accordingly with his orders. Also, there is in the fact paragraph 30 states that he have the status of superior to orders his commanders to check and give the records.
It's okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counsel. Thank you, Counsel.